What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Download Queue, episode 38. We are getting so close to episode 50, Kyle. Feels feels good. 12 close. There you go. Numbers. We're your new favorite place for video games. Talking about gaming, talk about industry, talk about what we're playing. Sometimes talk about wrestling. It's October 6th. We're in the best month of the year. As always, you can catch us at twitch.tv/Badlands Backlogs each and every Sunday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard. We're just hanging out today. Couple things to talk about. More relaxed show. But I'd like to kick off. I said on Twitter last night. Kyle, I'm sorry your birthday gift of The Rock appearing on your TV screen was a week late. But I'm happy it was able to show up for you at one point in time. Count to 3, point at his neck, and then walk off. Premium live event. Yeah. No, it was okay around. I honestly forgot it was on until I saw you tweet about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's on tonight." It's probably pre-show time, and I turned it on. It was like halfway through Punk's match. I'm like, "Oh, it's actually started already." Damn.
Picks up the phone and says, "Hey, I'm in. Let's do it." Because like that should have ended it, but then it would have been weird having Roman Cody do it. Either way, great bookends. The blood did not bother me. Apparently, though, it was real blood. CM Punk threw a toolbox right at McIntyre's head, and now he needed 12 stitches, I think it was. So that was apparently he literally got bashed open, apparently, which is just awful, gross. But it didn't bother me too much. That was a fun match. That was my first Hell in a Cell match, so proper, I think. Because I just saw like clips online of Cody with the shoulder when he tore his pec, and it was like, oh man, that's crazy. But I didn't watch it. This was and this whole feud, CM Punk versus McIntyre, was my first start to finish feud in WWE that since I come back. Like that started proper when Punk got hurt and then ended now. Hopefully ended. It should have ended. There's no reason they should continue. At least not yet. But yeah.
And you enjoyed it though. Like for first one front to back, like you were invested.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great on Drew McIntyre picking up that opportunity once he's the one that injures Punk. He picks it up running, and then yeah, they both came out elevated. I'm in on CM Punk, right? I mean, he's one. There's a couple reasons why I got into wrestling, and he's one of them. The pop on social media when he returns, it was like, what the heck is going on? I look into it, and I'm like, oh, okay. Then you look into why it's crazy that he came back and what he left for and what was going on in AEW. It's like, oh dang, there's a lot behind this. So that was one reason I started looking. So for the feud start to finish, I thought it was solid. I Drew McIntyre, I'm very interested to see where he goes now. I know you're not a huge fan of him, but I thought in this feud it was the perfect role and the perfect thing for Punk. The crowd's already behind him, so he ain't gonna be that guy right now. To go too far, it has to be the other one. So I think it worked out. I truly enjoyed it. Wrestling's cool.
Wrestling is cool. Yeah, Punk's got the like an aura around him, I feel, that like latches on to either casual people or just new people coming in. But yeah, like you said, with his return, like the pop and stuff he gets, I know you weren't watching, but his last return in AEW, because he got a couple injuries, he was out for a little bit of time. But the last one he returned before he left for good was in Minneapolis when we were there. And I've never turned so feral for like 20 seconds in my life when that music hit. Like that place erupted. It was special. Again, it wasn't like, oh, I'm back after a few years, but just in regular return from injury, like it was wild to be in the building for that.
Yeah, no, he is super over, just in general. So I'm excited to see what comes next. This felt like an ending for a lot of things, and then a redirection for the show as a whole. And then like, all right, nothing really started, but we're gonna move on. So I like it. You ready for that? More Naya?
Get out of here. No.
Better than Bailey. I'll say that again.
I'll go get my sign upstairs right now from SummerSlam that says if Nia wins, we riot, and I'll put that on stream the whole time.
I didn't see you riot. She won twice. Where are you, the one man riot?
It's in North Dakota. It's one man riot always. There's no one else here.
It's funny. But yeah, what have you been up to, or where do you want to take the show now? Sorry, I'm just jumping the gun here.
No, it's whatever. Like I say, it's kind of slow. We got a couple things. Do you want to start with the big release this week, or save that to the end?
Let's talk about it.
Talk about it. Shattered Space, Starfield's first expansion from Bethesda, just over a year after launch, is here. We talked about it last week. It is their first kind of fully handcrafted experience in the game, with everything else being procedurally generated,
Yeah, see,
which
I had
was a
one of
lot of
these,
people's big
legendary.
hangups. And it's here. We finally got it, got our hands on it. Base level, Kyle, how are you feeling? Initial thoughts. We'll dive in deeper as we go.
So far, I think the ambiance is very solid. I think across the board with Starfield, they really have fit the world building, the design language for each planet and faction and the world as a whole really blends together. And this expansion and the Varun, because we haven't seen much of the Varun, right?
The one
Just
mission,
their
right, in the main game?
yeah, the whole aesthetic just fits perfectly in the world. I really do enjoy it. The little bit of horror aspects in some of the missions have been solid, especially the first opening mission where you go to a space station, you have to figure out what's going on and such. I thought that was just a great opening. They hit the vibe incredibly well, I thought. And at the end of the day, they did add more Starfield to Starfield, and they expand and they gave us what we wanted, which was a better, or tighter story, a little more narrative stuff, but also a planet that isn't just here you go. It's handcrafted, and you feel that right away when you get onto the planet, and especially when you get out of the main city. It just that's where it fell apart in base Starfield with Aquila City or New Atlantis. New Atlantis being the capital, the main spot um, for the United Colonies, and it just felt. Eh. You get outside the city and it's just barren immediately, and it's like I feel like there'd be some stuff, right? So they do. It feels more lived in on the city of outside the city of Dazra, which is on the planet Varun Kai here, which they added. And I know on stream I've been playing it. I hearkened it to as you're driving around the planet. Like, it reminds me of Outer Worlds, and that's definitely because of the colors. I think Outer Worlds has a lot of the pink and oranges in their design stuff, but it feels handcrafted, and that's something we asked for. We wanted more handcrafted places, at least places that didn't feel empty, and they did that. So overall, I think great, solid expansion. It's more Starfield. So if you don't like Starfield, yeah, you're probably not gonna truly love this expansion, but it's more Starfield, and I loved it.
Yeah, I'll agree. I went into it more probably mild, like I was a get in, see what it's about type thing. Wasn't expecting anything dramatically different. But yeah, everything you said hit everything right on the head. As you said, leave the city and you can immediately tell the difference in just the scenery and locations around. I remember that first night of early access or Starfield when it came out. I was hooked. I flew to New Atlantis, whatever. Left the city immediately. Just wanted to explore, see what it was about. And they have sort of the locations you can find, like little question marks that come up on your map. That'll be like some kind of formation, or whatever. Like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. And then I went to bed and I got on the next day and I found another one, and it was the exact same thing copy pasted. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And again, copy pasted over and over and over, and it really killed my want for exploration. Cause like, okay, this is kind of just pointless they're kind of different each planet, but you're going to be seeing the same exact thing nonstop. Um, which sucks because like Skyrim, Oblivion's my favorite of Bethesda's things. Like everything you can tell when they have the time to put care and actually develop things how they want and the layout of places and give them a unique quality to it, it's just better overall. So yeah, getting that here, it was great. Like you said, color palette, love it. The couple places I've explored for side quests or what have you have all been really cool and drastically like more spread out and open. Even just bases or spaceports, whatever you find, like there's an expansive nature to them to let you kind of explore more instead of just okay, this is the clear path to get from A to B, which I really enjoyed. Uh, yeah, it's more Starfield. It's if I feel a lot of people were coming into this, which I'm sure we'll talk about later with the reviews and stuff. A lot of people are coming into this expecting it to be a big change, expecting this to be like a Phantom Liberty moment or something that would change the outlook on an otherwise kind of meh reviewed game and turn it around, which that this was never going to be. And yeah,
Yeah,
like you
no,
say, it's if you didn't like Starfield originally, this isn't gonna drastically change your mind, I don't think.
yeah, no, I can't imagine if it doing that. And I think we saw that in reviews, unfortunately, because once I think you get into it and you actually just play the game as Starfield, it's just an expansion. And I think there is I do feel there's some level of like, was this in the main game and it just had to be pushed and they wanted to touch up other stuff? I mean, maybe, but because like was only one faction not included in the base game, and that was the Varun, right? And there's story reasons for that, but I could see, it is what it is. But overall, yeah, I think it just expands upon what Starfield's doing, and I'm excited for where they go. I think I do hope they could do. I don't know how realistic this is, but it'd be interesting if they would be able to kind of do a refresh into the world as a whole, where they can kind of touch up some of those assets, maybe expand upon the variety of stuff you can get on each planet. If all these are being procedurally generated, so like I haven't tested this, but I think a planet I go on would be different than a planet you go on, not just what loads in, but maybe it is just what loads in when you first land. But if it's just what loads in and that's when it's generated, I would hope that they could maybe refresh that at some point. I couldn't find this quote, but I do remember reading somewhere or hearing somewhere, and maybe this was just like out of pocket, but that Bethesda's kind of they're not moving on, but there's going to be less updates for Starfield as opposed to this last year where we got one every quarter minimum and kind of touching up stuff. So we'll see. Given the public reception of this expansion, it doesn't make me super hopeful for them investing a ton into this. But given Bethesda being Bethesda and the way I see they view Starfield as a third tent pole, right behind Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Now they have three. I hope they can keep it up. An eventual Starfield 2 or some type of thing, I think is inevitable because I think the world is just so cool and realized. I think that's it. This is a new IP, right? Like this is a new Bethesda IP, and they set the world, and it has its own lore. And when you get into it, it does make sense, and it is interesting. I just understand why the gameplay doesn't hit for a lot of people because it does ask you to put a ton of time into the game to really get to it, right? I'm level 60 in the expansion on this character, and like I just I'm still seeing on the skill tree like, oh man, I need to get that and that and that, and I'm like, that's like 5 skill points I'm looking for. That's a lot of time, and that's just to get to like the first unlock of my the thing I want, right? To be able to get more crew on my ship, it's like I need 5 skill points, and then that's only level 1. It's like it asks a lot of time of you, but once you put that in, I think it's worth it. But we'll see. I do want to read a quick quote. There was a from the Games Radar. They talked to design director from on Starfield, Emil Pagliarolo. Probably said that very wrong.
Okay.
But the last sentence here, but for us, most importantly, Starfield has its own unique personality and now sits right next to Fallout and Elder Scrolls. That tells me a lot, and I hope that we get more Starfield expansions. And I would love a Wasteland Workshop style. I didn't play any Skyrim, so I can't talk about their DLC. But I hope they add a Wasteland Workshop style expansion DLC pack where it's all about ships, it's all about crafting, because I think in spacesuits, because I think that just lacks until you invest heavily into it. But there's not even that much to do with it, So I think they can expand upon a lot. Starfield definitely feels like the first game in a thing, though.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's kind of three tent poles for Bethesda now, and I hope this changes over time, but I wish that some of these IPs and studios would stop kind of being so walled off. And I mean that in a sense of if this is the third thing, so we got Starfield in 2023. We already know next Elder Scrolls is the next release in 2, 3 years, whatever that is. And then you would assume they would go back to Fallout, which means Starfield 2 isn't for a decade? Like, I would like for these IPs, if it's not Bethesda in general, to be available to other studios to do their own projects in. Because I feel the wait for some of these things and the time to be able to turn them around and improve on them. At that point, not a lot of people are going to care, I don't think. Like, it doesn't have, yeah, it has a cult fan base kind of for Starfield people that are still playing it, and I follow people on Twitter who daily throughout the whole year have been posting nonstop content about it, but it doesn't have sort of that group of rabid people waiting for the next thing to drop and to see those updates. So I'd like to see another studio get a turn. If it's not Starfield 2, but do a Fallout New Vegas situation of a side project or side stories and a smaller. Get rid of the 100 planets because I hate that 1,000 planets, whatever it is. But keep it on a planet or two. Do smaller, more connected stories like this, and let the IP grow naturally that way. If that
Yeah,
happens, I doubt it, but
I'd imagine they just will do similar to Shattered Space, and it's just adding into Starfield. Because if you think about kind of how Starfield's built, especially the end game spoilers, like how do you go? What's a part two, or not part two, but what's a sequel to that, right? Like, and so that's why I can see Starfield just being they keep adding to it, and then you could buy this story pack, you can buy this expansion in here once you're into it, and they just keep updating the base game. That could be something unique. I do wonder, like Elder Scrolls, like how soon that is, because I mean Starfield was 10+ years development and such, and it's a brand new game, and it does stuff that
they were
not Elder
announced
Scrolls and
same
Fallout
night, I believe,
does.
right?
Were they? Or but I think behind the scenes though they've been like working on Starfield for a
Oh
while,
yeah.
right? Yeah, like it's a brand new, and that does take a lot of time when you're brand new IP, and they really did. The design is very specific, I think. Um, but I wonder for Elder Scrolls like how far out that is, because games have become way overinflated since we have been like, yeah, more big games, and then they announced Elder Scrolls 6, and now we've come to the side of I feel like everyone's like, hey, maybe not make them too big, maybe we could tone down. So it's like I wonder where Elder Scrolls will lie, especially coming off of Skyrim. I don't understand why that is as Skyrim doesn't hit for me at all, which is very interesting. I think that's another conversation there. Um, but with the Fallout show, they know people want to Fallout. That IP is, I think that IP is their strongest IP across the board. I just don't think they're capitalizing on it. I think the name Elder Scrolls is there, but I just don't. I mean, depending on what Elder Scrolls 6 does. Um, but I just have to imagine that they're scaling down so they can get them out faster, because I think that's what the games industry is doing across the board. Is it's overinflated too much. We're now taking 5+ years to make, even 5 years to make a game. That's half a decade, right? And it's like that's ridiculous. So, what? Like, I think we'll see some scaling down, and maybe we do get a smaller Fallout in terms of what Bethesda has done, but a tighter, solid, more solid experience. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I hope that's where they go in a smaller thing, but I hope that's more just industry wide, where we start going, as you said, they take years upon years to make. We've seen troubles with Ubisoft recently of projects continuously failing and putting them at risk. Like, there's a place and an audience for the big 100 plus hour sink every waking moment of your life into this thing, but there's a larger audience for people that want a smaller 8, 10 hour, 20-hour experience. There's a reason things like Fortnite are still your top played games because people want that sort of thing. I'm not saying everything needs to be Fortnite, but with so many studios trying to do big open world things like this, and they always use marketing of, oh, we have X amount of these things to do in the game, and the map is this wide to do in the game and explore, and there's hundreds of hours for the main quest. Like, at that point, you're just cannibalizing the amount of people who are actually going to invest in that in a world now where everything's a bunch of live service stuff, sadly. And even with Starfield, like, I looked at what getting into Shattered Space, I was looked at my save data. I was like, I have 6.5 days on this already, and that was with me taking a week off when this came out to play it. I'm like, I'm happier now doing smaller, more cohesive experiences, personally.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, we'll see. Going back to Shattered Space, I think it's a great direction for Starfield. I think. I haven't beat it yet, so like I guess it could really lose me. I'm having some weird bugs. It is the most buggy experience I've had in Starfield as to date. Uh, Especially the last stream I did yesterday as of recording, or Friday as or 2 days ago. But yeah, I crashed 4 times, which just have never. I've had a crash, boot it back up, and the rest of the night I'm fine. And that was only on my Series S. But playing on my Series X, yeah, just for some reason on Friday. But I did have the expansion installed on my memory card and the base game on the internal or flipped, whichever one. They were installed in different spots, so I wonder if that was the issue. But it's been like that every time I played, so I don't know what. I don't know. Either way, I have a weird quest bug as well where I don't see the marker I've selected. So I have to use the arrows on the ground in the scanner, and then I kind of wander around looking for people when they're just standing there. And I'm like, oh, there you are. But nothing to ruin my experience. I still find like the Bethesda little weird bugs of like I'm talking, they're talking, and it's like then my companion Andreja talks and she's behind a wall, so you just see walls. You just see the wall, and I'm like, that's just funny. Even though it's like definitely immersion breaking and ruins it, sure. It's just I don't know. There's something goofy about it in the funny way. Like I find it charming.
It's special. Um, you're not alone in some of your bugs. I got the weird car thing you were having the other day last night.
Oh, okay.
I had to restart my entire console, which took way longer than it should have. So I think my console was on the brink of blowing up. Um, yeah, it's this more than ever. I've gotten that weird Bethesda charm and jank of weird stuff happening that is goofy when it does, and it's not intended to. Um, One of my favorite things I want to say very early on, probably one of the first side quests you will get is helping a dispute between two brothers. Um,
Hmm.
and you get kind of roped into it, and there's a third party kind of explaining the situation to you. And as I'm following her and she's explaining the situation, we were following behind one of the brothers, like 2 feet behind, and the whole time she's just openly talking shit on him, like, "Oh, nobody loves him anymore. He's a loner, and everyone's abandoned him." I'm like, and he's just right there in front of us doing his own thing, like nothing's happened. Like, oh, this is perfect.
He's just crying as he was walking away. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah, see that quest like completely broke down for me because at the end of it, I side with her, whatever, and then they both, when I go talk to them after the fact, they're mad that I intervened, and then immediately after they finish that line of dialogue, they completely tone of voice change as well. They go, Oh, thank you. Like, I actually really didn't want to do that. It's like, all right, like, you gave me, I feel like both lines of dialogue you had, which were angry and happy, which is what it is. I'm interested to play. There hasn't been a patch yet that I've seen, so I'm hoping this week we get one that can kind of fix some of those things. I'm excited to replay it on my other character to see if there were dialogue things I've missed. I know there was a bug with Andreja. Apparently, she didn't say certain things, but again, my
Mhm.
character doesn't have a relationship with her yet. Hasn't traveled with her much, so it also makes sense for her not to say a lot to me. But we're also at her planet she never thought she'd go back to, so I feel like there should have been a little more dialogue, but nothing that has ruined my experience. I'm intrigued in the story. Oh, I can't discover anything on the planet. Every time I go to a thing, it doesn't like discover it for me, so I have to manually walk or drive everywhere. I can't do the fast travels.
That would
So
piss me
yeah.
off for achievements so badly.
Yeah, well, and that's quite kind of why I haven't beat it. It's part of the reason why I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I'll beat it on stream. I'll play it only on stream, and why that's held up is I hope there's a patch that comes soon. Like my experience not being ruined, but there's definitely some sore spots there, which is a little unfortunate. But
Yeah, I'll be
so we'll
interested.
see
I'll
if they ever
be
patch it.
interested to hear when you do beat it what your thoughts are. I did last night. I finished it off during Bad Blood, um, on the second monitor, and it was such a roller coaster of going through. And I'm curious to see how you feel about the ending and what kind of happens after and what's how the game is left when everything's said and done. Um, I don't know at this point if I'm going to keep returning. I probably will for a little bit just to do another side quest or two if I find them. But based off of like achievements, I think I've done the main ones to kind of do already. So I think that'll probably be my personal end with Starfield again. I'm not in a big rush to return to the main game or do anything, especially with how the fall is shaping up the next few months of releases.
Oh yeah,
So, so we'll see. Starfield.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm yeah. I have nothing else to say about it. They haven't lost me yet. I'm happy with it, but.
Waiting on that Elder Scrolls, Todd. Piss me
Do you
off
think we
again.
see that this year? Do you think they show it off, or does that a
Not a
wait for an
chance.
Xbox showcase?
I don't think we see that again. I don't even think we see it next year. Honestly,
Be smart of
um,
them.
I would say 2026 showcase. You hint and aim for 2027 release.
Okay, so out of the three, are you more Skyrim, or I guess not even counting Starfield in this, or were you more Skyrim or Fallout, or are you like both, or Elder Scrolls
I
Fallout?
was more Elder Scrolls, and I'm
Okay.
even older. My favorite of theirs, like I said, is Oblivion, which was the
Hmm.
360 one. Like, I have such nostalgia and just love for the quest design and the worlds and the mechanics and the way things work in that game that when Skyrim came out, it was my take time off from work game that year. And I played it hard for like 4 or 5 days. And after that, I just kind of casually return to it every now and then. Like every few years, I'll be like, I'm going to start a new playthrough. And I get to a certain point, and I just fade off again every time. So I don't know if it's the setting or what, but it just didn't grab me, or if I was expecting too much from it, like I was from Oblivion. So
Mm.
it's weird. Fallout's good. Three is probably my favorite again. Two of the older ones. I'm in the minority of not super enjoying New Vegas, which is the cult favorite, and Fallout 4 was okay. I played that game in a weird way that kind of ruined my experience going for achievements and 100%ing it, which sadly put a damper on everything overall. But
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I just wonder, like, what are you looking for in an Elder Scrolls now? I guess you kind of sounds like what I would assume is more Oblivion style, going back to better quest or whatnot? What are you looking for out of Elder
Yeah,
Scrolls 6 that they could
more
change up?
focus on the world. Like that's what I mentioned with Starfield. It's with the procedurally generated stuff, especially. It feels unlived in. It feels empty, and I kind of got that with Skyrim, just of how big the map was and openness, and there's a lot of points of just walking. Whereas Oblivion, you would be walking and there'd be random stuff happening or people, NPCs on a path doing stuff, and like it made the overall experience feel more full. Um, there's been some stuff that a lot of fans that have been wanting for a while that was rumored for Skyrim even that I would like to see, like ability to build your own spells, which has been rumored nonstop for everything they do Elder Scrolls related, and they kind of mess with it in DLC. I would like to see that. I would like to see more fleshed out combat stuff, which sounds dumb, but there's a meme of, oh, I'm gonna go start a Skyrim playthrough, and no matter what you do, you always end up as a stealth archer because that's just kind of the best way to handle things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which, like, yeah, it's fun, but like, I would like to have a reason to roll a warrior or go mage or do other builds and make them more appealing overall. And just lore wise, I want to be invested in and do kind of like a role playthrough like you're doing with Starfield, where it makes sense to talk to this person or it makes sense for this person to be kind of quiet. Like I would like to experience a game like that. And overall, I'm just more attracted to the high fantasy setting than the post-apocalyptic stuff of Fallout. And if there's a game or studio I would trust to be able to do that for me, I feel like it would be Bethesda. And there's some
Mm.
stuff now, even looking at it, like we know where the game's already set lore wise. There's kind of already an expectation of what that region looks like, what that region's going to play like, and the overall kind of baseline what we want or are expecting, which I feel gives them more opportunities to build upon it and kind of blow people away with what they're able to do. So we'll see. Like I said, I don't expect it to be anytime soon, which sucks to say because yeah, I looked it up. The next Elder Scrolls and Starfield were both announced 2018, and the fact that it may be almost 10 years that we get it, like that's kind of crappy. But they don't have no real rush because Skyrim's everywhere and selling like crazy still, and Starfield and Fallout are doing their thing. Fallout's doing great on TV, and Fallout 76 is doing great still. Like they have no real need to rush something right now.
Yeah, it's interesting with Fallout 76 because they keep updating it. So at some point, I wonder when that ceases to when they stop that. I think that'll be maybe post. I don't know. Who knows? Um, I feel like I would love to see, having not played an Elder Scrolls to completion. I would love, and you kind of mentioned just how with worlds feeling empty and such. I would love for them just to make one huge city, realistic size, close to it city that's dense, and that's where you can spend most of your time, and then you can go if you're questing somewhere. Like if there could be missions that take you out of the city for sure, but then they can load in almost like quote another planet like Starfield, right? You go to another section of the world and then you can have an experience set within there, slightly more like open zone, but then you go back to this giant city that's dense and it feels lived in, that isn't just here we go, I because like yeah, open world games, that's especially Starfield, these cities are like there's only 3 major cities in Starfield, a base game, now 4 with Shattered Space. What? There's only 4 major cities? That doesn't make sense. And they don't feel incredibly dense like this is it. So it requires you to turn off the brain and just live in the world and like, oh yeah, here I am. Like obviously not everyone's walking the street right now, so it doesn't look busy, but don't count all the buildings because there's definitely not enough space for people here, you know? But I would love just to be able to walk through a realized city that actually feels bigger and such.
I feel a lot of that comes from you mentioning the Starfield cities. Thinking my playthrough, even with there only being 3, I didn't really care about them. Like I either
Hmm.
found myself fast traveling to places in the city or just jetpacking over everything, which whether that's a developer standpoint and like mechanic wise, there's not really a need to fill and flesh those out when you have stuff like that in the game. So I almost feel like you need to kind of pull back on the different abilities or skills or mechanics that they're putting in to make a more realistic world. But then you're balancing on having it be fun or not, and not being super like hardcore, need to listen to paragraphs of explanation or like pay attention to everything that's going on type thing. So it's a weird thing to balance.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, with the new tech, new consoles, like it seems like we're getting away from having things look as realistic and more of
Oh shit.
better. Yeah, I know we're going to talk about that. Better frame rate and just it runs smoother and denser environments. I mean, Unreal Engine 5 is incredible, like looks crazy, and I know that's across the board. People are messing with different things and getting better. And the PlayStation Pisser tech, the PSSR, the DLSS on NVIDIA, all these companies are having this tech that is utilizing AI to fill in the gaps and make it look better. So that means your system can spend more time, hopefully, putting in more assets, rendering more things like that, as opposed to just making it look pretty. Because guess what? We're just gonna have AI do it for us. That's brilliant use of AI, if I'm understanding how that works. um, but yeah, that's kind of my hope. I would love to see this of. I think it'd be fascinating to get lost in a world and see like kind of like Assassin's Creed, where you have, thinking back, you could get different sections of a city and different environments and that type of thing. I think that'd be interesting. I'm thinking specifically Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and uh, Unity, like fully realized Paris, not fully realized, but a Paris that's dense and full,
Mm-hmm.
like that. That would be really fascinating to me.
But that too, I feel, goes back to what I was saying, where it becomes an issue of
Mm.
so many things now have been marketed as being bigger than they need to be, and being however many mile long map, and you could take 20 minutes to walk across it. I feel like if you condense it to one city, you're gonna have a struggle convincing people, which sounds dumb, but convincing people it's worth it. Because on paper in a headline, it's like, oh yeah, 20 cities, 100 planets, all this sounds better than you have one big place to explore type thing. Which sucks. Like, it sucks that we're at that point, but
Yeah, but I think if you show it off and like you just have to explain it, I make what you want, Can't worry about what reception is too much. Otherwise, you get caught trying to chase something that isn't real.
with that, we'll move
Yeah.
on from Starfield. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to hear when you finally beat it, what your thoughts
Yeah.
are overall. Moving on to some breaking news you just sent me. We got breaking news bursts here on the podcast. Join us for as a news site.
Woo woo.
What
Yeah, I've
is
been waiting
this?
for this.
Halo
Oh,
tweeted
343
525.
Studios is closed. They are now called Halo. They're not closed. They're just called Halo Studios now, baby.
Entering the next chapter of the franchise and changing the recipe for how we make Halo games. Go behind the scenes with Project Foundry to explore the creative potential of Halo and Unreal Engine 5. Oh, this is a YouTube video. I don't want that. I do.
Oh yeah, it is a video talking about some stuff, showing off. Yeah, they talk about their Halo history and they're moving stuff to Unreal Engine 5, which has been the leaks, and we've seen them post job openings that have been asking people to, hey, if you can play, or saying Unreal Engine experience is appreciated, is like we want that. So yeah, they're moving Halo to Unreal 5, which should help with development, make it faster, right?
Oh, if you're on video right now, this one, bro.
Yes.
If the next Halo looks like this at all,
That's what they're showing. I mean, I think that's the goal here. They want, yeah, that's
that's
the,
beautiful.
yeah, no, they have a lot of screenshots in this. But yeah, so the next chapter of Halo games will be on Unreal 5, which is awesome, and they're changing the name of 343 Industries to Halo Studios, and they're in the rebuilding phase, or the rebuild phase, not re. I guess that's the same thing, huh?
Rebranding.
But I think they say like we're kind of they're rehiring, they're bringing it's like resetting it. Anyways,
That's wild. They literally heard me a couple minutes ago be like, I want IP to branch out from more studios. And they're like, nah, fam, we're just Halo now. No one else is getting this.
the name change is interesting. I wonder what the heck that's about, but I think I mean it's not like 343 wasn't a nod to Halo before, but now it's just straight up no, we are Halo Studios, like, and that's what we are going to be doing. I'm excited. They teased this yesterday. Halo Championship Series is going on right now, and they teased the team has an announcement to make. They squashed the rumors of a new game instantly. They said there's not a new game. It's just the future of Halo, which I kind of expected something like this, and this is cool. So hopefully, I mean, who knows when we get the next Halo? This now makes it seem like maybe it's like 2 to 3 years out, 2 years to get a proper announcement of something else, but
2 years
I'm
next
okay with it.
console generation. Launch
There it
title
is.
for next hardware.
There it is. Yep. I would imagine I don't know if they're hiring right now and if they're just announcing the change, but I guess it's an engine that's already built and they just have to make it now, right? That's my limited knowledge on game engines. So now, yeah, we'll see. I mean, you have to imagine that's the goal here is to have a Halo in the release window. Maybe not day and date console release. That's obviously, I think, their goal. But you'd have to imagine that's at least release window here. So yeah, that'd be 2 years if we're assuming a 2026 console release.
Oh, that's wild. That gets me excited. It's the name change alone. Like, hey, we had some missteps as 343, but new coat of paint, brand new. Get hype.
I'm gonna apply to be their creative director.
Do it.
I'm gonna tell them what to do.
More Master Cheeks. Bring him back.
Guys, what if we thought about just doing the show? Let's bring back Pablo and just have him be here.
That's wild. I'm surprised nothing on this leaked online recently. Like, of this scale. Like, I feel like I've seen the Unreal Engine stuff for even before Infinite came out, but like the studio change and everything, that's kind of wild to see.
Yeah, the name. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the hiring stuff, so it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion that that's what they were doing, anyways. The name. It's cool to get the proper thing, though. Man, I hope more Halo. I mean, obviously more Halo. We're getting it, but I hope they can get back to a good, tight story. I mean, do you think it's the continuation of the story? Do you think Halo needs a reset? Because at this point, I think the narrative is lost. I feel like the narrative of Halo is lost.
Yeah, 100%. That was Infinite to me was the closest they've been in my eyes to recapturing where the game was at from Halo 2 to Halo 3. Besides the story, I played through the story mainline in 2 days. Like, I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened. They got introducing so many different either races, and then we're dropping some, and hey, here's a bad guy from Halo Wars 2 that's now the main bad guy, so if you don't have any history on him, like, there's just so reaching in so many different barrels to throw a story together that just felt loose and not worth being invested in, which sucked. But the gameplay was solid. Multiplayer was solid. Like, Halo World Championship Series was back. People were invested. Player numbers were crazy. Like, they were so close to pushing it back to that spotlight again, and it just fell apart, which sucks. And that's a mixture of store and live service stuff, and hey, it might have been this type of game at the start, and we had to switch this, and we may or may not be working on a battle royale mode in the background. Like, they were just trying to do so many different things, and got so close, and it makes me upset because, like, we played Halo Infinite a couple times on stream back in the day. Like, Halo 3 is my favorite, and the community around that game when it was big and what it meant for the brand and just online gaming, and like it felt different when you played it. And Halo Infinite was so close to reaching that again.
Yeah, and I think I remember hearing or like stories or reading about like they were just having issues with the engine, right? And it was their own engine they built for Halo, and it didn't work, and then it
Yep.
took too long to get stuff in and out. So this is just it makes sense to go with a partner like Unreal and use an engine that is solid and built, and you have a ton of people using it. It's like we can download Unreal if you wanted and mess with it, right? Like when you have something that everyone can get their hands on, then you have more opportunity to get people who know what they're doing in that engine. So when you have those issues, when you have those quirks that come up, they're like, oh, this is actually what you do, boom, 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 as opposed to, all right, let's figure it out. This is our own engine. We've never had this issue before, which, it's all assumptions on my part, but I would assume they've had a couple instances of that in the Halo Infinite development where issues arise and they have to solve it themselves. But now they can you just have a wider net to cast to get some help and to get kind of quirks figured out if there's any and such. So I think it's all good. I mean, I hope they can get back to a campaign that people latch onto and love that gets people into Halo and they want to play more Halo so they get into the multiplayer. And then I hope there's a multiplayer suite that isn't just solid multiplayer but also gives you reasons to play beyond just the silly cosmetics and such. Like just let me be a Spartan. Let me be my Spartan. Let me be like, and just let that mean something. I don't know how you do that. I can't figure that out. But there's
We're not
just
paid to
something
figure
was
that out.
missing in intimate. Something was missing in infinite multiplayer outside of just the gameplay, where it's like, yeah, you're just playing the multiplayer to play it, which is fine, but I don't know. And maybe that's just there's other things to play right now. I don't know.
I If anyone's on video, I have this pause on image that towards the end of this video they released. Look at this and tell me this doesn't look like some classic ass Halo 1 image. And then think about the constant rumors beginning of this year of a Halo 1 remaster coming out. Whether that's on PlayStation or not, I don't really care at this point.
Oh,
But
are all these screenshots
what a
just Halo 1 remastered?
better way to learn the Unreal Engine 5 engine and kind of ease into it by doing the remaster before going into your own from the ground up title. That would be wild.
Yeah. I do like that. And yeah, that is classic Halo right there.
Like,
That yeah, and it's all landscapes that look like the ring, right? It's all close-ups of rocks and such, but it looks like we're on a ring, we're on a Halo, and that's the classic armor. That'd be
that's
we get prequel Halo, Master Chief even before Halo 1.
Halo Reach
We
as a
go
kid.
years. Well, no, but Halo Reach was Halo Reach. It wasn't Master Chief. I want Master Chief with Blue Team before Halo. As a first, well, actually, his story, there's not really much to expand upon there, actually. They didn't have a ton of stuff. I think it'd be interesting, though.
Get hype.
Do something similar to Gears of War E-Day. Bring back the peak character. Actually, yeah, we're just getting young boys now.
God. I'm sitting here with a goofy ass smile on my face. Like, this is the type of stuff I'm like, yeah.
No, it's a great design. And that if you keep going in the video, it's a great logo work. Halo Studios logo. It looks similar to like the installations, and I can't think of the Forerunner tech and architecture. It kind of reminds me of that too. I like it. It's a solid logo.
Oh, yeah, this is that. Oh, that whole, like, with the lines going across, that very much was like the terminals and stuff in Halo 3.
Hmm.
God.
Yeah,
Exciting.
no, it's a hot logo. It's a very solid logo. I like
I'm
it.
bet right now for the one day if we ever meet in person, Game Awards this year, that remaster is getting announced. Putting it out there.
It'd be if they're doing a remaster. That's awesome. I would love that. Even though they did a Halo anniversary already, it'd be awesome if it's just 1, 2, 3 remastered, all built in Unreal 3. That'd be insane. But yeah, I think it's very smart. What they haven't. What a great way to get your hands wet on a new engine by just kind of remastering something within it. We'll see.
Yeah, that's clean. Uh,
But yeah, story wise, I just don't. Yeah, we'll see. We kind of moved on from that, but yeah, I just don't know where else you take Infinite after the story. I don't. We're just so far gone. Like so much has happened. I wouldn't hate a reset, but I don't love the idea of like just retelling the story. Right? Like I don't know. They just have to figure out something though, because
reboot it.
we're
Keep Chief, keep the Flood in some capacity, keep Grunts and the Elites and everything, but just restart all that. At this point, like it's been what 20 plus years. Like
but
kids
I feel
don't
like
care. Kids don't care about all the lore and shit. Like if you're trying to capture that new audience, like it's time. I At this point, if you try and save the story from Infinite when so many people didn't care, is that gonna
you
really
know
grab
what?
them?
I want them to put Chief on ice and have like a thousand plus years pass
Ooh.
and just have him and then it's him come out and then like you can discover oh look, collect these little journals and it's the old games and stories and then and such. But I mean that's a way I just don't see how you reset the universe and just retell these stories. I think then you get into oh, but they're doing it different, or they're doing the same exact thing. It's just a remaster. It's like, well, no, it's a retelling. It's like, oh, but they're not doing what they normally did. Oh, it's like, all right. I can just see the discourse around it already, and I think that's a hard thing to get right. But yeah, we'll see. Either
Are
way,
we
more Halo.
are we both in agreement? Whatever this turns out to be, get rid of the open world for story.
Yeah, don't build it around the open world unless there's a. I just don't think first person shooters need an open world. And I think Halo is iconic for having these big set pieces. I think that's why you don't remember it. It's you went and did a thing and a thing and then you left, but you
Mm-hmm.
didn't go. It's not like you're jumping onto the Covenant carrier and then you're jumping out of it with a bomb and you're blowing up a whole carrier. Just you with their bomb that they gave you, you send it back to them. You don't get those moments, I think, and even though that's the opening of Halo 2.
No, but the thing is, they did exactly that with ODST. Did you mute yourself, Kyle? Halo news. Well, Kyle maybe unmutes himself here. Doing a change of show. We had something else to talk about.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, he's back now.
Okay, cool. That's so weird. Whatever. Tech issues.
Tech issues. Uh, we're approaching an hour. How much time you got? Do you got time to fit in two things, or just go to one thing?
Oh yeah. I'm good for a chunk.
Oh, good. Okay. Other thing that happened this week that we probably are in differing views on of being weird. Xbox, Microsoft Research is opening up a program to learn from developers why they are skipping the console, skipping the ecosystem, developing elsewhere, not bringing their games to Xbox.
Answer: PlayStation pays them to.
PlayStation pays them to. Where's the so Microsoft Research is putting this on, develops products and features that led to Kinect, DirectX, Direct Xbox, The Thing, DirectSR, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and more. They're usually focused on consumers when it comes to gaming and improving their services and experiences. But in a new blog post, they're developing a program to engage game creators directly, exploring ways it can improve its systems, processes, and services. From the head of research, from Deborah Henderson, we've known for a while this is a gap. We do lots of work on games, on hardware, on the Xbox dashboard, and yet most of the systems for collecting feedback on the back end were less formal. Honestly, I think it's very similar to the reasons studios often take a while to dedicate the sorts of resources to game tools. The player always comes first. I read this and my head turned so fast when I first saw this, and I'm so confused and lost on how they don't realize or understand why developers are skipping their platform. Like, for me, from an outside viewpoint, if you don't realize that, there's major issues unless it's stuff
Okay,
we
what are the reasons though then?
lack
Have
of
you talked
player.
to anyone directly? Have you
No, but like looking at
That's so there's the
numbers,
thing though. Public and discourse online and talk online is different from a developer telling you exactly what it is. Right? So I get it. It's not this is I see that as, oh, we hear everyone. Now let's just have a formal way to ask people. I think it's not great to have this be a story and have a this is what we're doing. But also I don't think it's a bad thing. But I do push back on your point there.
so I'll give you one that does fit that though. Recently, and that's Capcom with their fighting collections and whatever they were doing to upres the ROMs they were using or what have you that wasn't running on Xbox. Like you think there'd be some line of communication from Capcom when they're beginning the process of that game and being like, "Hey, Xbox, this isn't gonna work out. Like, what can we do?" Instead of it becoming a news article of why it's skipping, being a whole news thing of, "Hey, we got this to work. Maybe. Hey, maybe coming later." Like at the base level, in my mind, for a smooth operating company, I would expect there to be a line of communication already established without having to make a special like thing for it.
Yeah, but I think that's what they're admitting in this is saying there was no formal way. It was just an informal thing of just reach out to your Xbox rep, I would imagine, and just let us know. And then if the studio's like, we have enough to do, like we can just we'll get to it. And then they never get to it. It's just like we're just I that puts it all on the developer in that point where I don't think it I think the response to how they fix that is this survey is saying, here's a formal way, here's an actual way that you can just talk to us, as opposed to, I don't know, just letting us know if you want. But I do think like this is in response to the Capcom stuff, of course. I think.
Capcom, Black Myth, like there's a pretty decent list recently, I feel.
Yeah, and I feel like that probably is due to the Series S and studios just not wanting to even put in the work to figure that out because it sounds like once it's figured out, works pretty well. Games work on both consoles pretty well, but getting to that point sounds like it takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah, the one thing of this I do want to point out that cool to see. Uh, it's not just for developers, like actual like programmers type things. The program is opened up to marketing teams, user research, artists, audio, community managers, like across the board. They're opening it to everyone possible. Which, if you're doing this, might as well, because it could just be audio stuff. It could be smaller issues on some side thing that's not part of the main design overall. So
Yeah, well, I think it's also the people who use it and are making stuff to get on a platform, they're gonna find the pain points faster. And yeah, maybe it is like, oh, for us this doesn't work, and then when you have now a way to create a dialogue back and forth of like us developers are trying to do this and we're having this issue and that's why we're not even this is why we haven't been on your platform because of XYZ. And they're like, oh, that's something we could fix right away. Or, oh, okay, so when we're designing our next console, we'll put that in mind, right? Or as we're trying to lock in our current specs, we'll keep that in mind and such.
it's just something I wanted to throw in. I'm curious as this rolls out if anything actually formal comes of it, or if we see changes, or I mean, probably not. It's all back end stuff that consumers are privy to, but
Well,
only
I think what we will see is games not skipping the platform and potentially having. I don't think Xbox is doing a lot of like. I mean, it might lead to games being on Game Pass more often than not, like bigger games too potentially. But I don't think Xbox is buying like exclusivity stuff.
No, I think we're at a point
or
now
anything. But
where exclusivity deals like that are pretty much done.
no, it's just like if it's the exclusivity deal is Game Pass, right? But it could be everywhere. But the new instead of it's only on one platform, it's is it on your streaming service or not? Which I think that's what we'll see is maybe some more third party games, some we don't expect to be within these realms. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to get feedback. Why it needs a blog post and like an official thing sound makes it sound like it's a little late. But at the end of the day, I mean, hey, being open to feedback is not a bad thing. It's what you do with that feedback because they can all these devs can tell them exactly what what's wrong and what they would want to see from the platform and what would make it easier to get their games on. And Xbox can just not do any of it, which you know
Get all the
we'll see.
information and then just shrug it off.
They're just like, oh,
Eh,
okay, we don't. That's fine. Yeah, but it just depends on what they do with it and how they what the outcome is. But so we'll see. Hopefully, yeah, no more games skipping Xbox and developers saying, yeah, we're just not going to do it. They never got back to us.
Xbox, we're calling, but you still ain't answering.
Yep.
Okay. Have you done any other games this week? Just Starfield? Anything else you want to talk about? 'Cause I got one thing if you don't.
I quickly Persona. Playing more Persona 3. Reload going into that. I've still not much to say. More Persona. I'm still liking it. I'm only 11 hours in, so I know I'm like early. I think I was watching Kind of Funny and like Blessing was talking about he needs to get back to Persona. He's only 70 hours in. I was like, God damn.
Holy.
Like, that's what this game is?
Did you decide? Are you
But
sticking with it, or are you switching over to Metaphor? I saw you tweet about that the other day.
I'm gonna stick with Persona for now, but we'll see. I know Metaphor does. I did download the demo for Metaphor ReFantasio, so I might jump into that just to get a taste and see. But I think I will wait for now. I'll put more. I'm liking Persona 3 Reload, and the more I play, the more the story comes out. I am like I'm into it. I am invested to a degree. So it's a solid, not turn off my brain game, but it's a good like end of night kind of wind down game for me until I get really deep into it, and then I'm playing a whole week. And then it's 1 a.m. again. And I'm like, ah, shoot. The midterms are coming, though.
Oh God.
No, I just got past the midterms. So, anyways, we're still early.
Good. Glad you're enjoying it. I'm surprised you're enjoying it, but glad you're enjoying it.
I know Dungeons of Hinterberg. That's what exposed me to that style loosely, and yeah, I'm in.
That gateway
I
drug.
the the turn-based stuff is odd. I like it's just not. It's not like it's odd. It's fine. It's what it is. But odd to me because I'm not a huge fan of turn-based stuff. But the Persona system, triggering their weaknesses, there's a flow to that, and I'm enjoying it.
Good. 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 I have not played anything else besides Starfield this week, but I did watch something that I'd like to put a light on that I recommend to a lot of people, and that is War Games: The Making of Stalker 2. This is a hour and a half long documentary that Xbox released on their YouTube channel. For those aren't aware, GSE Game World, the developer behind Stalker, is based out of Kiev, Ukraine. Multiple delays in the back end on their end, middle of development. Obviously, we had the invasion of Russia, which threw a wrench in everyone's plan.
Russia invading Ukraine. You said
Yes.
invasion of.
Oh
Sorry, just
no,
want to
sorry.
clarify for this.
Yeah. And just very, it's me being a person. I get very invested in things. I get very emotional about things. I honestly ended this off teary eyed. Like it puts a special sort of real life microscope on game developers and just the overall struggles of the industry and then amplifying it so much with what they had to go through was shocking. Um it's like I said, very short, hour and a half, quick thing, but it touches on their original development, the original founder, his brother still there, one of the heads of the studio, um, their decision to start making Stalker 2 after so long, and some of the early issues they had. And the main chunk is on the invasion and what they did. The studio had buses in the parking lot for weeks waiting for something to happen if it would, to take employees, past employees, their families away if needed, packed everything up and left the studio behind. Um, they have some of the people who stayed in Kiev to help fight and sort of their struggles and journeys, and it's wild to watch. It's very informative. Um, these sort of documentaries have kind of been my new favorite thing. There's been a few that have come out. The most biggest one was Psych Odyssey about the making of Psychonauts 2, obviously a different degree. But getting these behind closed doors interviews and looks at the process of things and how the smallest thing can drastically change a development cycle and people's lives, and you finish a game and you get credits rolled at the end, and most people, yeah, there's people that made it, whatever, but you can't never put a name to the face and who they are and what they put into the game you may have hated or something that becomes your new favorite thing. Like, you don't think about it on that level. But with this, like, it's changing. Like, it's emotional, very just awesome thing to watch. I'm happy Xbox did this. I hope a lot of people watch it. I hope people give Stalker 2 the time of day and take those extra seconds, look at the names and the credits, look at the people who developed this, and just think about their journey the past 6, 7 years from start to end to get this product to your screens. Um,
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but you've convinced me that it's something I should at least attempt to get through. I like documentaries, but sometimes I fall asleep. But it's just, yeah, I mean, we all play games. They're fun little goofy things, right? It's just to waste time, to wind down, to build a career off of, whatever. But yeah, when real world gets involved, like, man, especially with that situation, it's crazy. But it's fascinating to have them make this documentary and like talk about it, because there is a human side of, obviously, of making these games, and this is something that shouldn't be happening in 2024, but or in 2023 it started and it's still going on. But yeah, it's fascinating. So it's on the, I gotta add it to my list now.
yeah, there's a couple things I wanted. Like, it's informative on levels you wouldn't expect. Like, Stalker 2, the name of the game. A stalker apparently is the term given to people who enter the Chernobyl zone illegally to explore. Like, that's an actual thing. It's not just like name of the
Oh,
game type thing. Um, Another thing that really caught me off guard when they said, uh, after the war started, they weren't fully done with actors and voice actors and mocap. So once they all evacuated, they had to completely recast the entire game, like that far in already, which is part of the reason for delays, because they either couldn't get in contact with people or just they were off fighting. So from the ground up, they had to recast everything
that's
last
crazy.
year. Like, it's
It's
just
crazy that,
wild.
yeah, it's crazy that it's not just like, oh yeah, we just have to, evacuate. We have to get out of the war zone now. It's no, some of our actors and developers are actively fighting now, are defending. It's just, it's so crazy. So, and yeah, just watching the footage you're showing it. Jeez. Shout out to Xbox for doing this type of stuff. And I know you mentioned the Psych Odyssey stuff, and that wasn't just Xbox when that started, but I don't believe they were acquired yet. Uh,
Middle of
but
it,
yeah,
yeah.
it's fascinating. Like, and it's important to be able to document stuff. Like, obviously, something like this, having a war in the middle of this, is a fascinating perspective from a game developer angle, right? But yeah, just it's cool that Xbox is investing into these things. I think that's a plus side that I don't think many people talk about.
Yeah, no, very cool. Again, War Game making of Stalker 2. It's on their official YouTube channel. I said I got misty eyed. I'm writing a thing right now for the site as well. It should be up on Monday about it and just my overall thoughts on that and how sort of the industry's just held to a different standard. Like we mention on here so much, but there's so much hate directed to people and people looking to tear down the littlest detail and looking to just spread more negativity. When there's real people behind what you're experiencing, there's real people who designed that quest in Starfield, who designed a car texture in Forza. Like, there's passion and love and care put into that a lot of people don't think about. So, next time you have a favorite game, find the developer on Twitter, thank them, do something nice. Because there's real people, eyes and a mind on the other side of that message who spent, as we said, 5-6 years on a project that one or two people may see or may become a multi-million-dollar seller. Who knows? But there's real people on the other end. With that, Kyle, I think it's time to say goodbye. Be back next Sunday for a new episode of the podcast, Download Q. You got anything you're doing this week you want to promote before we head out?
Going to be finishing Starfield, Shattered Space expansion, and then starting something else. Trying to be consistent again, building back up with streaming. I've got a lot on the YouTube channel as well. Got like 6 days straight of videos posted, all Starfield. But go give us a follow. We're almost at 20 subscribers. Go make sure you subscribe also to Badlands Backlogs YouTube channel where we post these. You can catch episodes after they air. Just help support us, you know? We're trying.
Grinding.
Yeah, we're grinding.
Grinding. We'll be back. Be good to each other next Sunday. Happy gaming.